This episode is brought to you by PayPal. You had plans for the last days of summer. And back-to-school shopping has its own plans. School supplies, dorm essentials, your list doesn't stop. Neither does the spending. But when you pay in full with PayPal, you can pay over time. No interest, no fees. Check out with PayPal and get back to summer. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payinfor. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Low energy, unfocused, foggy? You might be dehydrated. Whether it's hot yoga, over 100-degree weather, or too much sun. Gatorlight, with a specialized blend of 5 electrolytes, was scientifically designed to help move fluids into the body faster for rapid rehydration. Shop now at retailers nationwide. Gatorlight hydrates faster than water. Is it in you? Symptoms noted are signs of mild to moderate dehydration. Consult a healthcare professional if symptoms persist.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to Coach Unplugged. And now, your host, Steve Collins.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach Unplugged. I'm so happy you decided to join us. Before we jump in, I don't do this every week, but I would love if you went over, left a review, left a comment. I listen to all of those. Give me some topics. Send over to Steve at teachhoops.com. What kind of topics do you want to hear? But before we jump into today's topic, I'd like to give a big shout out to our 2 sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shooting machine on the market. I've tried them all, and this is not only how innovative are, but the workouts and what I love about Dr. Dish is they give back to the community. If you follow them on Facebook, if you follow them on Twitter, they're always giving back to the basketball community. And you mentioned Coach Unplugged, they'll give you $450 off. Also, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. It is a one-stop shop for basketball coaches. It's resources, it's handouts, it's videos, it's one-on-one calls, it's office hours. It's a coach. It's a resource run by a coach for a coach. It's not an ex-coach, not someone that's been let go, not someone that's coaching part-time. This is what I do. And Teach Hoops helps me keep the bills on. It helps me put up these podcasts, 13 podcasts a week. Teach Hoops helps me be able to do that. And it's a roadmap for you to be successful. And let me help you in this great journey that we call coaching. But let's head off to the podcast.
So last week we had a really long podcast, and it actually ended up talking about conducting tryouts and planning tryouts. So and the next thing we want to do is just continue to build on our season. So how do you then plan your first week of practice with your guys or girls to go on with the season? So that first initial week, once you've had your tryouts, what do the next 5 or 6 practices look like?
So do you mean after you pick your team?
Yep, right after. So we're to the point of we've posted on the locker room or whatever way you post the teams. They've been selected. You've decided what underclassmen you're going to bring up to your varsity. All that stuff, those decisions have been made. What does the first week of practice planning look like, and what are some of the goals that have you changed over the years? Has it been pretty consistent? Does it change because of what team you have? All those different things that we can talk about as you plan your first week of practice with your team.
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, going back to the tryout things, I talk to every kid I cut or keep. I haven't 30 years, I've never put a list on a wall. I just don't do that. I figure if they have enough guts to come and try out early morning and sit through my tryouts for a couple of days, they have the right to look me eye. And now I've had tears. I've had kids that want to hit me. I've had kids that it's miserable. It's literally one of the reasons I'll probably quit. It's a horrible day, but they deserve that from me. They don't. I
think that's awesome, Coach. I think in the end, though, they're going to learn. That's a valuable skill that you can teach young men and women the reality of brutal honesty. I think so often we're
It
not
is.
honest with kids.
Yep.
It gives them an opportunity to ask questions. You can be brutally honest with them and say, well, this is why you didn't make the
Yeah.
team.
I
And
mean,
so
I, I
often
I
a
can
list
tell you,
doesn't do that
yeah,
for you. A list
I can,
doesn't do that for you.
right.
And like you said, I agree that they deserve a little bit of, they committed time for you. They sacrificed some time for you. It just makes your program just look better in a sense too.
Right. It goes to, you and I have talked about this. Is truth or harmony? Do they want the truth or they want harmony? Most kids want harmony, and I'm going to give them the truth. And it's like, and this goes back. We could do a whole podcast on tryouts, on after tryouts. We should do that at some point. Maybe the end of October, we'll do what you do after tryouts, because how do you handle the cuts? That would be a good one to do. How do you handle cuts and then handle what happens after tryouts? But anyway, I think you're better off if they're never going to play. They're never going to, you don't see any progression. It's like you're just being you're selling them a false bill of sales too. It's like, yeah, you're number 17 and you're never going to play. I'm better off cutting you than letting you sit there for 4 months, 5 months. It's such a long season. So anyway, I got off task there, but let's go back to the first week of practice. So after the team is picked, after we've done all that, so what I've started to do, and I've done this in the last, probably since August with my coaches, is we are starting to map out drills. And actually what we want to do, we go out about 4 or 5 days, and we're going to map out exactly what we want to get in, how we want to implement our offense, how we want to implement our defense. That first Saturday is kind of, we're thinking of going twice that day, kind of an implement day, because we don't play or do anything like that. So, but we're going to map out literally every minute of everything in those first 7 days, because we have 14 practices before our first game. So we're putting some new things in and tweaking some stuff. And so every minute is so precious, and I want to get them in and out, just because I think it's a waste to keep them there unless you're implementing something. So, we map out every minute of everything. And I think those first couple weeks, it's no different. You and I are both teachers. How you set the tone the first 2 weeks of class in August set the tone for the entire year. I think it's the same thing with practice. It's like, it is a well-oiled machine at that point. And I think you have to do it either on a spreadsheet or on a piece of paper. We have something where we have actually an Excel sheet, and we have drills listed. And these are the things that we have a whole month mapped out of things we need to get in and when we need to get them in. But that first week is more like, okay, what do we need for that first game? What do we need for that first opponent, to be effective? Because obviously we're going to add to it just like we add in the classroom. But I think that it's extremely important, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think it goes back to, it's just that backwards designing. You start looking at your strengths and weaknesses with your group right away, and you really want to build on some of the weaknesses that you're going to have, or what teams are going to expose you already in the first couple weeks of practice. The first couple days of practice. So, if you don't really have a true point guard, you struggle with pressure. You're going to have to be big emphasis on that right away early on in the season. I think mapping out is great. I used to use an Excel sheet, and it was actually minute by minute, and then it would color code it. So after an hour and a half, it would go a certain color, and then I literally mapped out everything, every practice.
Right.
And I kept every practice.
And don't do the entire year. What I'm telling people are listening, going, I'm going to do this. No. If you get more than, this is from a teacher of 30 plus years. If you map out more than 4 or 5 days, it's going to change. And you'll spend 2 months mapping out the entire year. Map out a week, and then you got to schedule time to deal with it every week. What we're going to do differently this year is we're going to meet as a staff every week, kind of like football staffs do. And we're going to map out the week. We're going to map out the week every week, together. So I think that will be I think that's easier if you map out the entire week. Then, I just think it's easier if you map out the entire week. and then evaluate after maybe Saturday, go to the next week, but don't go for more than 4 or 5 days of practice in a row, in my opinion. What's your thought, Coach?
I agree. You can't go more than that. I weekly plan for my classroom. I mean, I do a yearly plan, like the things I want to do throughout the whole season.
Right.
But those are big topics. They're not verbatim of what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do. And I'm constantly taking notes on my practice plan the day of that day. So if I miss something, I'm going back to it and I'm constantly adjusting the next day. So I'm not taking verbatim. Monday's going to be Monday, and then Tuesday's going to be Tuesday. Monday's going to be Monday, and heck, Tuesday might look completely different than it did a week ago. You're constantly evaluating your tool and your lesson, your practice plan after the first day, and you're going to have to go back. Like, maybe you're not making the progress that you want in your offense. Well, then you're going to have to repeat again. You can't go forward. Everybody really wants to go fast. You got to start slow to go fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you want something mapped out kind of weekly or monthly, just so you don't, like, there's been times like we haven't taken enough shots and you lose it in the noise of the season and stuff like that. So there is a plus for mapping out more than 4 or 5 days, maybe mapping out 2-3 weeks or a month.
The other thing is that stick to doing things in time. So I think early on, probably in your coaching career, you get so mad that things weren't working out you would just be drilling that same concept for 45 minutes, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't even get half my practice done.
Right.
Like, you can only do so much, and they're going to get frustrated. Go back to it later in your practice, okay? Or you do it tomorrow, because you want to you got to get other stuff in. You got to stick to your plan to close as you can, and you got to make it, I don't like to do a drill or a concept more than 8 to 10 minutes at a time. I like to keep rotating and moving and constantly going, and it just keeps it engaging. I just think often people say, I don't know if that's an old school mentality.
No,
we're going to do this till you figure it out.
I don't think it is, and it doesn't matter if you're a high school coach because you're listening to high school hoops. Then put it on I put it up on the clock. Like, we have a portal. I put it up on the clock. I got 7 minutes. If that horn goes off, we're done. We might come back to it because I might have a buffer built in at the back, but we're done. If you're a youth coach or a junior high coach, or you don't have a clock or have access to it, just put it on your phone. Literally put it on your phone, set it for 8 minutes, and then, or 10 minutes, whatever you're doing that drill. And then when it goes off, it doesn't matter. You can finish the teaching point at that point, but move on. Because we live in I've told you this, we live in a Snapchat world, man. These kids' attention spans, unless it's moving, you're gonna lose them anyway. So they're not gonna sit.
In the world, if you can get a manager to run that clock. What I used to do is I'd have my practice plan here, and it'd have all the minute increments, and he would go right to the next one. He did that for me and just kept it going. It had a horn. So after that 8 minutes, horn, boom, next.
You will be surprised how fast practice goes if you do that too.
Right.
It'll be like, boom. It's like practice is over. Like, it's like ding, 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 because you're a well-oiled machine,
But then don't forget to be reflective, though. Like, I am always constantly writing on that plan. So I type mine out, and then at the end I have my hard copy, and that's what I take home with me. And then I evaluate the next day, and I build on it. So I kind of map out a couple days, and then I'm constantly just evaluating my lesson plans every day. Yep. I mean, it's very similar to being a teacher.
Yep. And the thing is that then, and we'll get to this when we do some stuff during season prep, but we do that post game every game. Like, what went well? What didn't go well? What do we need to work on? Oh, then I got to change the practice plan for tomorrow. Blah, 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 blah. So we do that. Doesn't matter if it's a scrimmage. Doesn't matter if it's a game. Doesn't matter if it's like maybe a week of practice and things weren't working the way we needed to. You got to go back and reevaluate at that point. I agree. All right. Anything else on that, Coach?
I guess the only other thing we didn't really touch on is like, what do you focus on the first week of practice?
Yep. So
is there everything? You cannot do everything.
No, I focus on our offense, which can entail, your fast break, can entail your secondary, can whatever it is. So our base offense goes in and our base defense goes in. So those are two must happen. I don't scrimmage the first Saturday. I know a lot of people, I don't do that. I wait a week. I want another 3. I think that first Saturday after you've picked your team is too valuable a day the scrimmage and we're not ready, so we push it back and then we go midweek the next week. But I want base offense, base defense, and then I'll put some other I'll sprinkle some other things in. I'm just trying to get them into basketball mode at that point. But those are the two musts that I must get in, because I'm only talking 3 or 4 practices at that point the rest of the week.
Yeah, and then I think you just want to try to install one thing every day, whether it's an out-of-bounds play. You want to gradually build. You don't want to do 4 or 5 out-of-bounds plays in one day.
Right.
You want to build on that, and then you want to, even another thing too is like it's still okay early in the season to do quick situations. I used to do I would have one thing I would say that I love to do in my practices, like throughout the practice, to be 4 or 5 times that I'd say, all right. In the middle of practice, it'd be 30-second situation. Here's how much on the clock, and here's our situation. And I'm going to give them the out-of-bounds play, but it's going to be an out-of-bounds play we're going to actually use in the season, but we're going to draw it up first and see how they can do it before they even learn the play. And then we'll go back. That would be at that point, then after they've done it, we'll be like, all right, guys, here's the actual way of running it. This is how you guys ran it. Now we're going to learn it because we're going to install it. And that was kind of the way I kind of did my out-of-bounds plays every year. Is I would draw it up first and see how they could do it just by doing it. Great teaching moment, and then we would learn it after that. And so that's a great thing to do, is just constantly little installments, because you can't front load everything right away.
Yeah, you want to sprinkle it in. So you're right.
Sprinkle.
I'll sprinkle in. I will sprinkle in an out of bounds play. I will sprinkle in a situation. I will sprinkle in one of our zone defenses, which isn't maybe our base.
Right.
Talk about it. All those things. But the first 3 or 4 days after I pick my team are base offense, base defense. With that, I agree. And part of it is we got to get some shots up. I want to see how we work in transition. How do we handle pressure? How do, you have like 12 days. I got to figure out, who are my top 5? Who are my next ones? I'm trying to figure out pieces too of the puzzle. So I think that's a great point though. That's a great point about the sprinkling in. You definitely have to do that. And if you map it out, map out the month, that's easy to see. I agree. All right. Anything else on that?
I think that's pretty good, actually.
Okay. All right. Do we have a question this week?
Yes, we do. One drill that you think that you do early on in the season that promotes toughness.
Ooh, we play cutthroat a lot. No out of bounds, very few fouls. We emphasize, we call it cutthroat, but we basically emphasize what we think is important. Offensive rebounding, boxing out, closing out. All those things are worth specific points, taking a charge. So that's one that we run early and often, because you quickly find who's going to, and then the loser's going to have something. So one of my assistants keeps score, and then we just go. And then no out of bounds. We let them get pretty physical with it too. So I think that's one of my favorite ones early, just to kind of see who's going to back down, who's going to pass the foxhole test with me and who isn't, kind of thing.
Yeah, I like to just do one-on-one where they spin off the ball. They can't dribble. They can't pass. They're going 1v1. They're just constantly pivoting and being strong with the ball for 20, 30 seconds at a time. That really gets each person in isolation. There's sweeping it low, sweeping it high. You're telling the other guys to slap them a little bit, push them around a little bit. Who's getting low, who's getting athletic. That's a quick, easy way to really build that physical toughness early on in the season.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Till next week, Coach. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, jump up and down, like I say. Tell your friends. That would be a good thing. Yeah, share this on social media. And then also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Have a great day.
Booking.com is the easiest way. From a day surrounded by noise to a stay surrounded by nature. That's nice. Go on, book it. It's easy. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
NFL football season is here, which means when you switch to Verizon, it feels like...
Touchdown!
Because you get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube on us when you buy an eligible 5G phone on select unlimited plans, which means you can watch every out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. And it's all on us. Now that's the Verizon way to kick off the NFL football season right. Switch and get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube on us, only with Verizon.